And this is Jared Dees from thereligionteacher.com. The parables. The parables in the Gospels are stories that Jesus tells to express some deeper meaning. They're allegorical. They're teaching stories. The word parable comes from the Greek words that mean ball, throw, and para, alongside. You've got a story about farming, a story about vineyards, a story about a person, a father and sons, or father and servants, or landowners. All these different images are being thrown alongside a deeper meaning. So Jesus is telling parables. He's got a tale, which is another word for story, a tale that expresses a truth. And especially in his parables, he's talking about truths about God that are surprising, truths about the kingdom of God that are surprising. So the big question is, why does Jesus preach in parables? Why does he use parables when he's teaching out into the crowds? And the funny thing is, the disciples actually asked Jesus this very question. Why do you preach to them? Why do you speak to them in parables? In the context of the question is really, really helpful, because when Jesus is using parables, he's directing them not at his disciples, who are already his followers. He's directing them at the crowds, the people who aren't believers yet. So when Jesus is preaching in parables, he's talking to a group of people who haven't made the decision to follow him, haven't made the decision to give up their lives back to God. So he's telling all of these stories to express truths that haven't been accepted yet in ways that can be easily understood, so that these people who aren't disciples yet are going to make that choice to follow Jesus, to become disciples. He says to the disciples in response to that question of why do you speak to them in parables, he says, because the knowledge of the kingdom of God has been granted unto you, but to them it has not been granted. That disciples have this truth already. Jesus can speak plainly to them. But that truth is difficult to understand if you're an outsider. So these parables of the prodigal son, of the lost sheep, they express that love of God, which is very difficult to understand from the outside. They express the sacrifices someone needs to make in order to become a part of that kingdom of God, in order to be a disciple of Jesus. So when you read the parables, keep in mind, what is Jesus trying to do? He's expressing a truth to people who aren't sure of who God is and what the kingdom of God is like. People that haven't fully accepted truths yet. The parables express those deeper meanings about who God is and how we can love him back with easily understood stories. So it's a masterful way of teaching truths without just being a list of things that we believe or the list of things that Jesus is teaching. He's sharing stories that are going to invite us to understand more deeply who he was, who God the Father is, what it takes to be a part of the kingdom of God. Go make disciples. God bless.